All right, welcome everyone to the webcast today featuring Production Coach. Hi, my name's Sean with RSA Solutions, and proud to be your host today for this webcast. Duration is scheduled for 1 hour, and I hope and trust that it will be a great investment of your time. I'm excited about this webcast. It's great to share about technology that's helping so many customers in incredible ways. For those of you who don't know that much about Production Coach at this point, it is a software that I categorize in the category of manufacturing execution. Our customers use it in a very broad scope. It's very modular in nature so that you can do as much or as little with it as you like. For some customers, they use it for planning or scheduling their production. Others for tracking at various points in production for operations such as sorting or kitting, automation of 3D assembly, staging, shipping, and even all the way out to the job site tracking, including timekeeping. There's also elements of business intelligence, giving and empowering you to be able to use data that you already are creating. You just maybe don't have a centralized SQL database and system to be able to manage and to be able to give you great information about your business. Today, we're going to begin by looking at what I call the 3D factory here on the RSA Solutions website. By the way, if you don't frequent rsasolutions.com, I want to suggest to you that there's a huge amount of resources and information here, specifically about software, but also the industry in general. And lots of videos about customers and before and after stories. So you might want to bookmark that page for sure. In describing briefly this 3D factory, you'll see that there's a number 1, and that's meant to depict the office. So the very first thing you probably should know about Production Coach is that it gives you the ability to import data from other sources. That's one of the reasons why we're able to get customers up and running so fast that we are not creating their CAD/CAM data. That is happening with other industry type solutions, including Wood CAD/CAM, including Cutright, including Microvellum, including Cabinet Vision, and then a variety of imports from Excel. Item number 2 on the list is meant to depict the ability to track, and you'll find out today that we do tracking in a variety of ways. Yes, you could scan a barcode at a part level. You could do a print to scan, which is basically a barcode to say I've began a work order and a barcode to say I've completed. In some cases, we're actually doing direct controller feedback from panel saws or nested base machines to help tracking. Tracking can occur pretty much at any location that you'd like. Just depends on what is the valuable information that you might want to get from it. Number 3 depicts the fact that not all operations in your factory have to have Production Coach. It's very possible to pick and choose the areas that you want to collect information from and to skip others. The little depiction was a couple of machines, possibly edge banding or horizontal bore and dowel insertion machines. You're welcome to track at any points that you want, but you're not regulated to do that. Number 4 is meant to depict the process that happens when we have released a work order and we're chopping up sheets of material into parts, and they're going through processes in panel processing, may be organized by like edge material or part type, but not organized by product. And so this sorting technology enables a scan of a barcode and to organize all of the parts by product, and does much more, but that in essence is what number 4 is depicting. Number 5 is depicting the 3D assembly, where you're able to pull parts from the sorting bin, scan a barcode of any one of the parts, and it will produce a 3D image of the product. It will update the status of it to built or assembled, whatever you want to call it, and it will generate a unique ID or product label for the products being assembled. Whether those are products or they are, kits, could be palletizing of products, it could be molding bundles, hardware kits, anything that you might want to be able to put together and to be able to create an overall kit label for those as well. 5 is what we refer to as staging, organizing, so everybody knows where the work order is making its move to in preparation for shipping. Customers sometimes use that only for location purposes, and others to be able to scan in fully all the items to know that they have everything ready to go on the truck. 6 is, of course, 6 and 7 are depicting the ability to be able to scan not only products onto the truck, but also kits as well, so that the truck never leaves unless it's 100% complete. You might ask yourself, I do frequently with customers, whether you ship accurately 100%, 100% of the time, and most, before having Production Coach, suffered from calls from the field often, things that either they shipped and they couldn't find, or items that never got made, or items that just didn't make it onto the truck. And so Production Coach is going to solve that for you in a really, really great way. Item number 8 is depicting the job site, whether that's delivery or installation, and allows you to have a web application to be able to scan things off of the truck or at install as well. Might make mention that the industry in 2018 awarded Production Coach the Challengers Award for product innovation to the industry. We have a 100% success rate with customer implementations, and it's really, really an amazing technology. I'm going to go ahead and move into the software itself, but I do want to just kick out a quick reminder that, again, the questions in chat are available to you, and I will, at a near point in this break from presentation, to go see what questions might be asked and to make this a valuable time for you. For today's webcast presentation, I have created a number of stations because we're going to be doing this from one computer. I'll be logging into stations, logging out of those stations and into the next, which is not, of course, the way that it would run in your factory. Those would be on separate PCs doing their individual functions, but hopefully you can follow along quite well. So we'll have an office station, we'll have a panel processing, a sorting, an assembly, and a shipping for today. So I'm going to go ahead and log into the office station, and we'll first take a look at the user interface itself. So what you'll notice is on the left-hand side of the screen is what I'm going to call the work orders. Some might call it jobs, but we refer to them as work orders. The reason we use that is for some of our customers, a job might consist of multi-phases, and so a work order is the package or the release that is happening. Just as an example of that, surveyed lots of our customers, and it seems like common batch sizes, if we're referring to cabinets, which this doesn't have to be, is generally 30 to 40 boxes is a common release size. In the upper section middle is going to display for us, of the work order highlighted, what assemblies are in that work order. And of course, we can drill down to part levels for those as well. But that shows you all of the assemblies. Might be cabinets, fixtures, countertops, whatever it is. In the bottom center section, it is displaying for us what would be referred to as loose items. So it's easy to configure the system so that upon import, we are separating out the parts or items that are not going to be part of the assembly. And so those can be dealt with through kits or various other means. The right hand of the screen, I'm going to cover a little bit more as we go, but from document management, chat, inside system creation of shipping tickets to the calendar and sorting functions, as well as the various reporting and labels we'll get to as I'm doing the presentation. You might notice that I'm highlighted on a work order here called Swenson. If I selected the first icon, this would be showing me what the work order status is, and we'll see in this particular case that it has completed at the stations of panel processing, sorting, assembly, and staging, but has not yet begun shipping. So at a click of a button at any moment, you can find out exactly where any work order is in process, which is really awesome. If you had something that was missing, you could click on one button and it'd tell you what was not complete at any of those stations. So it's about giving you live information about what's going on in your factory related to any work orders in process. If I select on this next button, this is going to show me the information, the details about what we imported for this work order. I have my system configured with some buyout of doors and drawer fronts, and then you'll see, of course, then the accumulation of various other items like hardware so that we know what needs to be pulled for the work order to be able to be complete. I'm going to go ahead and import a work order as an example, and we'll go through the rest of the functionality with that live work order. In this case, I am going to import an XML file that is coming from WoodCAD-CAM. As I mentioned, we do this with the popular of the industry, whether that be WoodCAD-CAM, Cutright, Microvellum, Cabinavision, and even other sources. If I go select on PM004, we'll see again in the upper section all of the assemblies. In the lower section, the items that are loose. I put in my configuration for import that I did not want to put in adjustable shelves at the time of assembly, but instead I wanted to be able to kit or palletize them and to be able to put them in place during the installation process. But for whatever it is, whether it's you don't put poles on doors or moldings or whatever it is you want loose, it can be easily configured to do that for you automatically. If we go look at the work order status for PM004, we'll see that we pretty much have a blank panel. Everything is listed as red because it hasn't even been started. It would be yellow if it's in process but not complete, and it's green if it's completed, and it's of course showing you across the level or percentage of completion at those various stations. I'm going to go to the next icon here, and what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to supplement the data. There was things that WoodCAD-CAM didn't know. For example, as an example, client address. It doesn't know what delivery or installation dates are. This may seem silly at first for me to choose today as the delivery date, but hopefully it will make sense because I want to show you how it manages exceptions. And I'll use the 13th as the installation date. I also can, we're going to be utilizing the Google Calendar for the purposes of planning. And so that means that I could have an unlimited number of calendar views, which translates to an unlimited number of shippers or an unlimited number of install crews. I'm even going to select here a back scheduling methodology we call a plan schedule. Hopefully you can agree with me that not all work orders are the same. If I have a melamine or a high pressure laminate job running through the shop, that's going to flow and take completely different paths and time than a high-end veneer finish job. And so we give you an unlimited number of back scheduling methodologies to be able to apply. And I'm even going to add a numeric value to this work order. You might be thinking, Sean, why are you adding a numeric value? When we are displaying for you in the Google Calendar the load that you have put on a workstation compared to your productivity goals, for that station, we display it in 3 different ways. Number 1, the number of sheets. Number 2, the number of parts or products depending upon the station. And number 3, the numeric values. So some examples of numeric value might be in a residential job. This is the price that the kitchen was sold for. In a commercial job, it might be the estimated factory hours for this portion of the overall project. You even have the ability to decide how to distribute, if not equally, those numeric values to give you the best way to load your factory. So for now, I'm going to save this work order, and we're going to make our way over to the icons on the right-hand side as we're going through the user interface here. And the first one that I want us to see happens to be the document visualization. We're utilizing Dropbox so that you have on-demand documentation for any station, any documents that you want included in this. This is just one step in helping you come to a modern digital factory with all information available on demand. You know, there's always been a great debate about what gets included in a work order packet to the shop floor. You don't want to produce so much paperwork that never gets looked at, but at the same time, if you don't provide enough information, that often causes questions and reasons for engineering to be disrupted by production, and production to be at a halt waiting for answers from engineering. So with this technology, it gives you the ability to include all or everything possibly needed on demand at the shop floor. Also, improvements of communication between not only the shop and office, but from department to department. So we've built in live chatting functions so that instead of having to walk up to the office and their conditioning or the heated area, whatever it is, to ask a question, you're able to quickly type something that you might need could be referenced back. And so it's just about productivity and communication tools. I'm going to go ahead and click on the icon for the Google Calendar. And what you're going to see is, as the calendar appears on screen, that I only have one work order in my calendar. That's on purpose for today's webcast, so that what I'm going to show you will not be cluttered with dozens or hundreds of work orders. Of course, being a calendar, you can look at it a day, a week, a month, however you want to view it. I'll try not to move my screen too much, and so I'll leave it here at a month view for this, and we'll see that the only work order on the calendar is PM004, and it happens to be displayed on the 10th, which is today, which happens to be the date that we set for delivery. I want to make sure that you understand, first of all, that every work order is color-coded utilizing the legend that you're able to control, which is displayed in the bottom left-hand side of the screen. So PM004 is white because it is not started in process at any of the shop floor stations. If PM004 had been completed at a station, for example, panel processing, its display on the calendar would be gray. Or if it was completed at sorting, it would be yellow. So the Google Calendar in itself can be a great way for you to be able to see across multiple date ranges and multiple work orders to know the exact status of any of those. I assume that we know, because it's Google Calendar, that means that you can view the calendar from any device. So if you're at a job site meeting or on a golf course or whatever it is, and you get a phone call wanting to know where something is in production, instead of having to call into the shop and have a shop supervisor walk around to go find out where those things are, you're literally able to see it instantly and directly from your calendar. I want to make sure that we understand what calendar views are. Currently, we're looking at all deliveries. If I want to see what's assigned to just our truck, which this order is, that's what I'm viewing. If I click on another delivery method, such as pickup is what I named it, it doesn't have anything on its calendar. So let's look at installation. If I go look at installer 1, you'll see that on the 13th, they have a work order to be done for installation on the 13th. If I go look at install crew 2, they don't have anything on their schedule. So this is a really great tool for you to be able to share out calendar views so that your key personnel is able to see exactly what they're supposed to be doing and not be cluttered with what other people might have to be doing as well. Let's go look at progress for a moment, and I'm going to turn on a few calendar views. I'm going to turn on shipped, staged, assembled, sorting, and I'm going to turn on panel processing. Now, if you remember the plan schedule method that I used, I called it 5-day production. And so in that, I was able to tell the system one time when I choose that, how to back schedule this work order. So it, by those calculations, scheduled panel processing to be completed on the 4th, for it to be sorted on the 5th, assembled on the 6th, staged on the 9th, and shipped here on the 10th. You might notice that all of those instances have red out to the right-hand side of them. I did that for a purpose. If they're green, there's nothing to worry about. You're right on schedule with everything. However, it's flagging and alerting you when a work order has not been completed at a process that it was scheduled for. So it's giving us great information here on the fly. I'm going to take this back down to look at just one station, and this time let's go look at it from a panel processing perspective. If I click into this date or date range, you'll see that in the bottom center of this, it's now firing for me and showing me the the load compared to the productivity goals. And so it is displaying for me. I can also highlight across an entire run. For example, you want to set production for next week. You want to go look at these to see how the load is occurring. It is going to display that for you. So you can select on a date or a date range, and it will recalculate. Just to make sure we understand what I'm talking about, I'm going to go into the configuration of this, and I'm going to go into panel processing. So here, I'm able to set my goal. So I'll say, hey, I want this to be between 50 and 80 products. I want this to be between, $15,000 and $20,000. I want this to be from 50 to 80 sheets, or whatever you want to set for those 3 different productivity displays that we're giving you. And so once that those things are done, we have them. Let's also look at this from the 5-day production. What I told panel processing is you needed to occur 4 days before that event. So it's very fast to be able to set up the Google Calendar to be able to give you great insight and great planning for your business that's shareable across not only internal processes, but from any smart device as well. Let's go back to deliveries for just a moment, and let's look at these. And I'm going to click into this instant. Notice that I can see valuable information about this. I know how many products and detached items. I have an address. I can click a button, and now I have Google turn-by-turn directions available to me. I even have direct access for project managers or install crews, direct access to the on-demand documentation that we saw inside of the system. So the Google Calendar, along with Dropbox, gives us an enormous amount of incredible tools that we can use to improve our business. So here we are back in the office looking at the user interface of this. One last thing that I want to do from the office before we move on is that I want to create a packing list. I'm going to say, hey, I'm now working on PM004. You'll notice if I click at the parent level, it's clicked everything downstream. But I also want you to know that this can be a release manager. We realize that our customers must live in the real world as one of the last subs in. Maybe you get a call that says, hey, you know what, I don't want this item or this item. I'm not ready for it, but I need something from another work order. It gives you the ability to manage exactly what you want, part of a packing list at any moment in time. Notice that I excluded a couple of items from PM004, and that's why they're still available to select. Once all of the items from a work order have been included in a packing list, then it's no longer even selectable. I'll just make that packing list number 2. So now we have a couple of packing lists for us to be able to work on and deal with as we're moving. And so this will be a real great way for us to continue the presentation. So for the moment, what I'm going to do is I am going to actually close down Production Coach, and I'm going to open back up another instance of it. And this time, I'm going to log into a station that I have named Panel Processing. I didn't want to call it SAW or nested-based routing just because people have various manufacturing styles and process, but I wanted to be able to give us something that we could understand at least a little bit about how the tracking functions work. So the first thing that I'm going to do is tell this that I want to generate for this work order what is called a print to scan. So I'm displaying for you on screen a barcode. This first barcode represents, and it's going to tell the system that I've now begun working on this work order. And the last one is going to tell me when I have completed at it. This is really the highest level, only telling us start and stop. Of course, you can scan patterns for SAW or nesting and update all the individual parts. You could scan all of the individual part barcodes at a station, and or in some cases, we can even get controller feedback. So I've got a little barcode scanner, and I'm going to scan the first barcode. Now, what you'll see is that the only change that you should see on screen is that in the bottom right-hand corner, it's now green and says clock out. So one of the potential functions of Production Coach is also automating time tracking for you, either for the purposes of payroll and or for work order costing. So while I'm just doing my job, Production Coach is capturing the time that I am spending on this work order itself. If we now scan the last barcode, what you'll see happens is that the status of all of the items have now changed from ready to production to panel processing. And if we go back and we look at the work order status, we'll now see that it's reflecting exactly what's happened. We have a number of stations today, so I don't want to spend any great amount of time in any one of these, but wanted you to have at least an experience of one of the types of scanning for the purposes of tracking through operations. So believe it or not, that's all that I'm going to show for now in panel processing. So I'm going to shut it down, and I'm going to open up the next station that I'm going to call sorting. This is a really special station, and one of those that if you were going to say, what's your favorite? I don't know. You know, shipping is awesome. 3D assembly is awesome. Sorting is awesome. But this one indeed is really, really a benefit to many of our customers. Earlier in the webcast, we mentioned that it was common for our customers to launch work orders that ranged between 30 and 40 cases. And if we hold that to be true and we use a median for that, let's just say 35 cases in this work order, and we said that each case had an average of 10 parts, that means that flowing through panel processing is roughly 350 parts. Now, I don't know if you want to call that a needle in a haystack, but that's a lot of parts to get organized where each part is unique to a specific product, and we need all of the parts available in order to be able to assemble properly. So what I want you to see is that I'm going to pop open the sorting function, and so now displayed on your screen is representing a sorting cart or rack. I just want to take a moment to tell you that it's highly configurable to whatever number of slots that you might want. It's configurable whether you want it to be mobile carts or fixed racks, and can work with various technologies in both ways. That it's highly flexible in that you can decide the kinds of items that you want to be sorting at this particular station. For example, some of our customers sort case parts separate than doors and drawer fronts. Some customers sort drawer boxes separately or toe base assemblies, and we can even synchronize multiple sortings at assembly so that the assembler isn't notified it's good to build until all of those things have been done. So what I want to do is I'm going to display today mobile sorting. And so I'm going to scan a barcode. So I just got parts coming from panel processing. I'm going to scan a barcode. And the first thing that it's going to display for me is to go get rack A. Now, this was a pretty small work order for this webcast presentation. However, if it would have been a 34 case job and my mobile cart only held 12 cases, then it would have told me to go get rack ABC or ADF, depending upon which ones were available. But in this case, we went and got rack A. It's now calculated where all of the products are going to live. So each of the 10 slots numbered 1 through 5 and 7 through 11 now have products assigned to them. And in number 7, it is flashing red telling me that the first part that I scanned belongs in that bin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go scan some more part barcodes. And if you'll watch on the screen, it's telling you where to sort them. Put that one in slot 5. Put this one in slot 10. So on and so forth as we continue to sort parts simply by scanning a barcode and putting it exactly where the system tells us to place it. So I scanned only enough part barcodes today to turn one of the bins green. If you look at the legend in the bottom left-hand corner, green means that it's ready for assembly. Means all of the parts and pieces are there for it. Blue means that it's a product assigned to a bin, but not all of the parts have been scanned to it. Orange would tell us if we had created a damaged part alert, that bin contained a part that had been marked as damaged. Yellow would be if that damaged part or parts had been corrected and were making their way back through production. And a gray, of course, means that we have nothing assigned to those particular bins. So what I want to do is show you what would happen if I had scanned all of the parts that were coming through panel processing, but I had one or more bin that was still blue, meaning that it didn't have all of its parts. I literally could just click into it, and now it's going to display for me all of the parts that are missing, or if I want to see the parts that are inside of it, I want to see those that are missing. It really gives me the ability to see that on the fly. Maybe I have a part whose barcode has fallen off. I can tell that it's a left side. Maybe I can identify it, but I want to see more information. Notice the integration level that we have with CAD-CAM. I can now see its exact size. I can see the work order it goes to. I can see its material. And, it goes to a 3-drawer base cabinet, so I can identify by the machining on it that this is it. So I'm literally able to manually sort it without having to go back and get its label. So now it's sorted in that bin. Maybe in the same process, identify that a part's been dropped on its corner. It's the bottom left shelf, and I now want to make a report and notify the system that the part has been damaged. I'm going to blame it on edge banding. You can have as many causes as you want, and this is going to create an alert in the system and notify the stations that you want notified that there is now a damaged part that needs to be taken care of, decisions made about it. So you can continue working with this. What I want you to see is that caused it to turn orange, notifying us that this slot now contains a part that has been marked damaged. So if you would remember for me bin number 7. That's the green one where we have all of the parts for assembly, and I'm going to close down this sorting station, and I'm going to pop open a new production coach station that will be called assembly. So now that we have assembly open, I can do something really simple, and that is to imitate pulling parts from bin number 7 and scanning any one of those part barcodes. I just made the scan. It identified it in the list. It is now changing the screen, and it is generating for me a 3D image of that very product that I'm supposed to assemble. It displays for me in the upper section all of the parts. I can click on any one, and it shows me its position within the assembly. It's also going to display for me the fronts that are part of this, as well as all of the hardware needed for this. And so it's really great that it's giving me those tools. It also allows me to do various things. So for example, if I wanted to hide a part so I could see inside of it, if I wanted to have full control over the assembly, I want to see inside of it, below it, behind it. It's giving assembly all that they might need to be able to do some amazing things, including drilling all the way down to the machining of each part. So you might also notice that the status of this has changed to assemble. As I move out of this area and back into the main interface for assembly, and we go look now at our work order status, you will see that we completed panel processing as we saw before, but we have started both sorting and assembly, but we have not completed either one. So it gives us an instant verification of what's going on, and we know that there's one damaged part as a result within this work order. So we could continue in this process of building more and more products, but what I want to take you to next is that some of our customers, after assembly, are placing products on pallets. So I'm going to tell this that I want to palletize some products, and I didn't know previously what order they might be coming off. So as now we have a product label for them, I'm now scanning a product label and telling it that it's part of this pallet, part of this pallet, and part of this pallet. Whenever I'm done with this, I can now click on the report to go see the barcode generated for this. Because of the way we're doing this webcast today, I'm going to print to a PDF. And so we'll go look at this, and hopefully I can find it. I did. There's PDF 1. So now if I blow this up for you, what you'll see is that we've made a pack or a kit or a pallet, whatever you want to refer to it as. It has a specific number. It has a unique ID or a barcode, and these particular items have been scanned onto it. So that means at shipping, I could literally scan this pack barcode, and it would count all of those items onto the truck. Same thing would occur if we were back here and we wanted to deal with a loose item and say, hey, I want to be able to create a label for these adjustable shelves. I could have scanned them in. I could have scanned each one of them onto the pallet like we did the products. And we'll say show the desktop, and I'll open this up. And so now we'll see that we created a unique ID or barcode that represents now all of these shelves. I could have even made rules and said, hey, I don't like more than 5 shelves in a pack, and it would have made multi-packs. It really is up to you how you want to configure the system to aid you in manufacturing execution. So for the moment, I'm done here at assembly, with the exception of I want to tell this order, now that we're beginning to do some stuff, that I want to stage it. So for my little version of a factory here, I created 24 unique areas that I might store or stage work orders. You'll see that in A18, I do have a work order that is taking up that space, but I have all of the others available. So I'm just going to select A01, And here I could define what kinds of things that I want to stage in this area. Of course, I could do a select all of the products and the loose items, and everything is being staged there. But I also would have the ability to stage things. For example, some of my customers stage various millwork in different locations than they do the cases. And so now everybody knows where this work order is being accumulated to. Whether you're scanning into it or not, everybody knows the game plan of where it's being staged. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close down, and I'm going to open back up Production Coach, and this time I am going to open up as the shipping station. Apologize for my voice, recovery from cold, but the voice doesn't know that I'm all better. So here in shipping, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a packing list. And so now I am ready to be scanning onto the truck. And so I'm going to scan the first product or kit barcode. And so notice that it's now flashing green. It will even take over the sound and give you a positive affirmation. Notice that it also highlighted the item. It gave me a date and time stamp for this. By the way, our customers tell us that magically their phone stopped ringing from the job site when they're able to create a packing list that also includes the date and time stamps of when it was scanned onto the truck. And yes, we can do this with RFID as well as barcode. It also changed the status of that item to ship. I'm going to scan another. That's complete. Another, complete, and another. Now, what I want you to see about this is that it also is going to keep me from doing the wrong things. I'm going to skip over to packing list 2, and I'm going to scan a barcode. Notice that what it's telling me is that the barcode that I scanned was not part of that pack, but it's telling me that should be part of pack 1. So it's keeping me from making mistakes, and as well as ensuring that I get the right things onto the truck. While we're here, before the truck door leaves, I'm going to click on a report and say I want to be able to generate a shipping report. One quick second. Oh, by the way, I wanted to show you status here first, and then we'll do the report. So now I'll see that we've even done some of our shipping and where we are with completion. Kind of crazy to be jumping around here, but that's the nature of doing a demonstration like this. And so here were all of our items in our packing list. We had 22 items, and we have shipped 4. We had a total of 2 packs, and so that means that we have 18 back-ordered items. So the purpose is make sure that truck doesn't leave until it's got everything on it that's intended to be on it. So what I'm going to do is I want to just quickly revert back to the office originally. And so I'm going to open up the office again to display 2 things for you. Number 1, the warning that will appear as a result of the damaged part alert that happened. I have my office as set as the configuration for receiving those alerts. So we'll see on the bottom right hand of our screen, here comes popping up our damaged item. It now is telling the work order PM004, the reason it was damaged by edgeband, date and timestamp, who reported it. I can even see more detailed information about it if I want, including its barcode. And so now I'm going to tell it that it's being corrected. And so I'm telling it that it's being corrected and fixed in the office and sent back through production. Notice that when I close this alert, now that particular product that was associated with that is now yellow in my system. So that means that everybody's being alerted that this product has a part that is being corrected and is making its way back to catch up with it. So whether that's at assembly or wherever it is in process, that it's doing great notification for us. Also just want to give you a little idea here that you can also have the business intelligence dashboard to be able to give you real data about your factory. I'm going to cover in light detail just based on our time today, but here we're showing you whether you have a balanced workflow. Want that line to be as horizontal as possible because we know how much we're doing at each station. We know how much is in between so we can alert you about bottlenecks or constraints happening. You're able to set goals for performance by workstation, even broken up into quarters of a day to make sure everybody's staying on track with what they need to be getting done according to your goals. We're measuring and monitoring your quality. If we're creating damaged parts, if we're not shipping 100% accurate, that's not quality, right? Not only can this be ran in real time, but it can also be ran in what we refer to as a deferred mode. See if I got a good example. Yeah, let's use this. So maybe I want to know over the last 6 months, what was the leading cause of damaged parts in my factory? I can now see that 50% of them occurred in cutting. Maybe I need to do some preventative maintenance or operator training or whatever, but without this information, it's hard to make great business decisions. So where I want to take us next is to the web real fast, and I'm going to take us to be able to see a couple of the features that are relative to 320043, that are relative to web-based applications. And so I'm going to go ahead and log in, and you'll see that I could either go to timekeeping or I could go to delivery scan. So I just want to take a moment to make sure we understand that these particular functions don't require you to be logged into a PC in the factory of production coach. This would allow you to be on any smart device for many of our customers. Timekeeping would also include potentially project managers, field verification, or even installation. So many even outside of the factory. And so we do that both for the purposes of payroll and or for work order costing that can be very detailed, not only by work order, by department, and by task. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into delivery scan for just a moment here. We'll see that we have our 2 packing lists that we created earlier, and here this is for PM004. I can tell it what I'm doing, whether I'm doing deliveries or installations. I have the ability to scan, take digital images, whatever it is that I want to do, or I could even say, hey, I've done all of these kinds of items, so this could be good. Maybe I have an alert that needs to happen. You know, I've got a product that's got an issue. I'm going to say, hey, you know what? Here's the reason this thing fell off the truck. I want to give it some notes. It will ask me to confirm. It's now asking me, is this affecting all the parts? Well, no, it really only affects the door is all that it did. So now I'd be able to confirm that, to be able to add an image from my device that would allow me to go select from pictures, whatever it is that you want, whatever you're doing, or I can skip that. And as a result of that, now I've created an alert that is going to be filtered back to production coach. So if I had my system configured that the office was to be notified, the office is going to get a notification of this instance just as if it had happened inside of the factory. So a great way, a very great way for you to be able to manage even outside of your own factory for deliveries and or installation. So anyway, I have just a few minutes left today, so I wanted to take a moment and go back to the questions area of this. And so I want to get to these. So Michael, I am now reading yours. We only have the option to view one plan. It looks like you can look at multiple files. How can we configure that? Michael, if you have the option for Google Calendar, it comes with the access to Dropbox. There's many reasons for utilizing the calendar other than just scheduling. For some of our customers, they don't use it for finite scheduling, but they use it for the purpose of being able to see the status of all the work orders, and that turns on the functionality for Dropbox, which means that you can have an unlimited number of documents. Thank you for that question. Okay, Kushish, is it possible to set up a sorting stage based on grouping by part names? So in sorting, you can create a configuration which is either filtering out or including items that you want sorted in that group. So, for example, we use that for case parts like I was sorting. I'm saying, hey, I only want to do the case parts. If I was sorting doors and drawer fronts, I'd be looking to that name or description or material or whatever we want to look out by to say, hey, now I'm sorting doors and drawer fronts or drawer boxes or base assemblies. So I believe that is something that answers your question, I believe. Second side of this is what happens with purchased items, where you start tracking. So this is not a materials management or MRP system. However, we do allow you, when we import in, we display for you all of the hardware or purchased items that you need, and you have the ability to update the status of those individual items in the system. Hopefully that gives you this. Is the shop flow license based on a group? So the way that licenses work are the number of PCs that production coach is going to be installed on. There's almost always one in the office for importing the data from WCAD CAM for creating various things, whether that's the schedule or creating packing lists, sometimes more than one. And then most of the time in the factory, there's more than one. Almost all of our customers use it to ship with. If you're going to ship with it, it makes sense to have one at assembly where we're generating product labels. And in other cases, customers want to start in process more upstream, even some very first operation at panel saws or nesting. But it really depends on where it is that you want to track. And I just want to say this. If you're thinking about implementing Production Coach, keep it simple. It's very modular. You can add to it. You can add more functions. You can add more stations, but don't make it overly complex. You're not even going to know until after you put this in and you see the benefit of what it's doing for you, what's really important. Almost all of our customers end up adding modules and stations as they go and as they gain confidence in the system, and it's really easy to configure that way. Question says, can multiple users access the same checkpoint? Yeah, that would be correct. So either for the purpose of timekeeping or for tracking a station, if you'll notice, my PC today was configured to have multiple stations that I was able to filter from one to the other, so you could do it that way for sure to do updates, to the status, even if you want it to be a different station name, all with the same PC. What we're going to want to look at is the ergonomics of what that means. It probably doesn't make sense for something that's a high scan volume to have to be traveling any amount of distance to be doing the scans, but in some cases, that might make perfect sense. Some of my customers use that kind of grouping in a custom department. They may have one or two guys that's building a die wall and somebody else a range hood or whatever it is. So they're scanning, pulling up data, those kinds of functions individually, even though they're in the same thing. By the way, here was the update to the office station telling us that alert fell off of the truck. I just thought that I would point that out. So we're down to 2 minutes left in our allotted time for today, and I just want to make sure that there's not something else that we need to cover before we end today's session. I tried to do a fairly comprehensive 5,000-foot view. Just understand that this was just what Sean dreamt up for a factory today, but can be configured for whatever it is that you need to do to accomplish the goals that you want. I just want to thank you guys for attending today's webcast. I hope that it was a valuable investment of your time. If you do decide to become our customer with Production Coach, let me welcome you and thank you for becoming a customer. Just keep in mind as you go through the process of acquisition, keep it simple. It's always expandable. You can do with it as much or as little as you want, and we'll help you achieve 100% success to reach all of your goals. Again, thank you so much for attending today's webcast. Please do visit rsasolutions.com to get all kinds of other valuable information. There's videos, there's customer testimonials, system requirements, all kinds of things for you to be able to learn about. So anyway, thank you again. Take care and God bless.